open to yourself, you go into the experience of something. And I think sometimes that's the difference for me between the Western way of understanding things and, to put it very generally speaking, cliched speaking, in the Eastern way is more to go inward, to experience what is there, to listen for what is there. As you listen to what's there, you find so much that you didn't know about, and you hear a different resonance within yourself of things that are inside as well as outside of you, of the, as Lynn would say, of the contours of your body.
So do you mean that you listen with your body instead of your ears?
What do you think, Craig?
That's what comes through for me.
Hmm.
And it's more of a deep energetic energy kind of sensing is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
You know, it bypasses language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I have anything against language. It just doesn't really, it language can't really capture a lot of the nuances that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I found in my experience that language tends to collapse everything.
Mm-hmm. I loved what you said, Heinz, about being able to stay with the value that you experience of yourself.
It's like listening with one's heart.
Mm.
The more you listen, the higher value you get.
Mm-hmm. And the more, as Craig was saying, the more you allow that experience and the resonance to be there, the more
You
value.
find You find what you resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
And against.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
When we ask
yes.
people, they always have very easy to say what they're not satisfied with about themselves. When you ask them, what are you satisfied with? Oh, they are having a hard time answering.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong way to look at oneself.
Well, it's limiting, right?
You can always find something wrong. You can just look at your eyes and see, oh, one is a millimeter or two higher than the other, and one is not as wide and opened. And
Mm.
of course, there's no symmetry in that way. We just think there are.
Mm.
Yeah, generally people don't check in with their own truth.
Exactly.
Which is the feedback your body gives you.
Mm.
That's why muscle testing is effective.
It is effective. It can be effective, but it can also come from the unconscious.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Energy and sensations are all very intimate as well.
What was your word for today, Craig?
I didn't really get one yet.
Mm. Jesse, I had to laugh at myself because when you said resonance against, what immediately came up for me was no, resonance is always for. It's only charge that is against. So this shows my bias, right?
Just shows you what language, like Craig said, language is limiting.
Yep.
And revealed your resonance against it.
Yeah.
Positive isn't always good.
Or maybe it just doesn't take you in the direction that you want to go to.
No, especially when you got COVID positive or HIV positive, it's not good.
God, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not in resonance, you're in dissonance of some kind.
Dissonance.
It's kind of like you're making a sour note with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dissonance. And interestingly, when you work with sound waves, they call that interference.
Static.
Yeah. Which is part of the reason why binaural beats work. When you have a different frequency coming in each ear.
Mm.
Mm.
You can choose your dissonance frequency. Like I'm listening to one right now that's, or I have been listening lately to one that's, the difference between the two is 1.1618, which is the Fibonacci ratio. It's very interesting what's coming out of that. for me.
Explain the Fibonacci thing about that, Craig, please.
Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence
Yeah.
is I don't remember the equation of it, but it comes out to be 1.1618.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, that's the ratio
Okay.
in numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like pi. It's a never ending number ratio. So they try to be. They've given it the Greek letter phi, phi.
So as you brought that equation in, and I saw the image of the spiral.
Yes.
So I really love shells, and they are the most exquisite shells that are that shape. But what it needed, when I saw the image of the shell again, it immediately took me back to the intimacy of ourselves, because it's like that drawing of the inside of the shell with the ratio is an image of unfolding.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pattern just keeps repeating. So as the snail expands, so does its shell.
Mm-hmm.
In a preconceived fashion, I guess you could say. Creation is an intelligent design.
Oh, yeah. And so when we listen to ourselves, there's an unfolding of the energy that can expand and continue to expand. Somebody shared with me yesterday about an experience with a healer, and it came to mind for me now with what we're talking about in terms of how the energetic system of the healer meets the system of the client, and then something, the only word that I have for it is something really magical happens in that resonance of those two fields, because it opens up a third field almost. And then what can be seen and heard through our senses with that opening. The visions and the sounds that will come from that. It's pretty awesome. I think again about the value of our mirror neurons. We are so exquisitely designed for growth and expansion. The gift of life. And as I said that, I thought about conception.
Yeah, and resonance.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that's the language of creation. We could describe it as music.
Yeah, it's the music of the spheres.
Alison, could you say that again? The music of what?
The music of the spheres. S-P-H-E-R-E-S.
That's what I thought you said. What do you mean by spheres?
The universe. All the different levels and layers.
Mm.
That's the
Okay.
sound current for me, Jesse.
Thank you. And I that video, I think Joe posted it a while back, that as the different frequencies of sound changes, the sand would change the shapes because there was sand on top of it. As they were spheres, there were different just shapes of spheres that changed, interacted, overlapped,
I missed that.
merged.
The sound current is, we were taught, is the old meditation technique.
Could you say that again? The sound current
is the oldest meditation technique.
is the oldest meditation technique.
Yeah. And Craig, when asked about listening to did I say listening to the heart? I think so. I can't remember now, sorry. But whether you listen with your ears or your body, it's both, right? You're using sensing as well as your sensory how. Sorry. You know what I mean. I can't formulate the sentence now. But you're listening. And in the beginning, when you start out, for many people, they don't really hear anything other than the sounds around them, because they are only listening through the senses. But when you start to be able to relax more and more into your body, you don't judge, you open, and then you start to hear the resonance. And at first it's just like white noise. Many people are already hearing it. They don't realize that they're hearing it until you bring their attention to it. And then they'll say, well, I used to hear that always as a kid. And that was the case with me. I always had this sound around me. I'd never paid attention to it. So maybe before we can move from the heart, we have to attend to the heart.
Mm. Align the heart.
Yes.
Yeah, and sense its pull.
And the sound of the universe depends on where you are. If you think about the earth, there are the Himalayas, there are pitch sounds, and there are the ocean level that are almost flat sounds, so it will be different depending on where you are listening from.
Yeah.
As it turns, it'll be the same tune, but it'll be a different place in the tune.
Yeah. And when you're in amongst the trees too, hey, Hans?
Yeah. Ooh, they play lots of music. Especially when the wind is howling. Ooh.
Oh. You're brave to go out when the wind is howling. I'm not the best person in the wind. I have to work hard at embracing it.
I don't like it, but I couldn't imagine life without it.
Oh, yes.
I'm
We've been
used to it. I
Yeah.
live in a very flat country, so wind is normal. Like we say, it only storms here 3 times a year, or the wind only blows 3 times a year. Rest of the time is storm. We're getting another storm, I think, tomorrow or tonight. But that's life when you live in a flat country where what's it called? Gulf Stream both ends and starts.
Mm.
Oh, as a overall, in general, look at the majority, do the majority of people's hearts lead their path? Your journey, majority of your journey, has your heart led your path? Or what have you been listening to before or after? The contrast. I think we said most people aren't aware, which is what I would agree with from my experience. So I'm going to frame that into moving from the heart, Allison. I think that's in line, in resonance with that phrase today, would you say?
Sorry, yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's my word today. Coherence.
Nice word, Craig. Love that word.
Yeah, I'm loving it more every day too.
Can you explain what you're learning, seeing, or what does it mean from coherence? If you'd like.
Coherence is a kind of a comprehensive tuning.
Mm.
Like it's tuning up to everything you're sensing.
That's what would take place. I would imagine that's what takes place when in a situation like I was talking earlier, when you've got somebody that's doing somatic work.
Yep.
Body work. Right. And I don't mean physio, although physio could, but if you've got somebody who's focusing more on the energetic field. It's a coherence that takes place between the practitioner's electromagnetic field and the clients.
You can do it with physical work like zone therapy.
Yeah. I mean, we do it all the time. It's just how much attention we put onto it, right? We're always we're always meeting somebody else's electromagnetic field. A
great example is when you walk into a room with the best mood, the mood will change in the whole environment.
Yeah. And you feel your own resonance with it, whether it pulls you or whether it makes you want to walk out the room.
Yeah, and the same thing's true when you're grounding as well. Like bare feet on the surface of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You're tuning into the Schumann resonance, right? Getting in sync with Mother Nature, so to speak.
And what I'll speak to my difference is it's like it was outside in. So it was more around what sounds, what resonance, what anything from out there that came into my body, came into that I would see how I would respond to it coming in. So I would filter it, I'd make up things, right? I would say it was from out there. And then I would respond appropriately, or what I thought was appropriately conditioned is how I'd respond.
Mm.
That's the reason I brought up the earth resonance, is because you have to have something to tune to. Like usually that would be a tuning fork that's set at a certain frequency, and then you work from there. So the reason we ground is so that we hear that resonance and then tune to that.
I think Jesse was in the middle of saying something, Craig. Am I right, Jess?
No, it's okay. All good. I think it's a good addition because it's because I listen to the grounding is the resonance of peace, of joy.
Yes.
And it's like if we think of like creation, think of life, like I think of, could be biased because it's mind from the inside coming out, which is the difference. Could be it may not appear to be much of a difference. It's more like your life is a lighthouse that's holding your heart out in front. You can't see the way, but it's guiding resonance, right? The sounds, the frequencies, they're pulling your heart in that direction. But it's you're listening through it, you're guiding it, you're trusting the value of who you are, of what your resonance is. And that is what I've learned to be the difference between whether it's more what's out there coming in is more important than what's in here coming out. That is, to me, the definition of giving our power away, giving our value away, giving our intimacy away, giving our heart away. Not trusting our own resonance, our own truths, our own values.
So, Craig, you were talking about tuning fork, and that my teacher used to say our bodies are our tuning fork.
I think that aligns with what we're speaking. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like because where else would we experience? There's experience again, Allison. It's like in the experience of it. Like our body.
Yeah, the thing is, you have your own home frequency. Your body has its own home frequency, which continues to change as you, I guess, as you awaken, so to speak, or as you become aware of it. But the home frequency of the environment is actually put out by Earth itself. And that's why I use that terminology as the Earth resonance being a tuning fork. Because what's interesting too, and they've been mapping this, especially over the last few years, the resonance of the Earth is rising slowly. So as the Earth awakens, so do we. So part of it is about learning how to use that, learning how to use the resonances that are in your environment.
Now, is emotions another word for that?
I would think so, yes.
Yeah, I'd say it's not all of it, but it's a subset. Emotions are a subset of that. Because emotions are empowerment and feedback.
It is. It's a way that our body is the tuning fork. That's what we're attuning to.
Yeah. And Jesse, as you say that, it's also attuned to the charge, right? Which you might include in the word emotions. But for me, it makes it, I am a lot more aware then. That word has helped me enormously. Because it points to the resonance of something. Is it positive, negative, or neutral?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily, and yeah, it's a grouping of emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't speak to one specific.
Yeah, it's like the emotions are our body's tuning fork as a subset of listening. It includes that charge, right? It includes the conditioning, which is not necessarily the truth, not necessarily our truth. And in that conditioning there's emotions that I was taught or learned I didn't want to experience.
Mm.
And if I think about it, it's like I didn't want the experience of pain, and then that would mean I didn't want to experience the joy and fullness and peace of life. So it was like a staying safe somewhere in between.
Yeah, and unfortunately we learn that at a time when we're not fully developed.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And then that stays with us, right?
Yeah. It becomes our little t truth.
Yeah.
Our filter of how our world, how it appears that our world works. And then our tuning fork is deep down dissatisfied. And
Well,
as we
sorry, no, go.
and then as we look at it, right, then we wonder, well, what is that? What is that dissatisfaction, that discontentment?
Mm. Mm.
And then that's to me where the intimacy, the seeing into oneself, into me, I see intimacy. And then we begin to see the value of that.
Mm. I haven't heard that whistle for so long.
And then something such as that is a collaboration between two living things, and it gives us such a big smile.
Mhm.
Mm. Just to think we're always doing that.
Mm. It's always happening. It's what we
Always
bring
happening.
our focus to, right? Our
Mhm.
attention to. And then we form an intention.
And Heinz, can I ask you a question?
Yep, go ahead.
What was your intention
When?
in the communication between you and the just now with the whistle and the with your bird?
Oh, I heard her moving around, so I went to show some TLC.
Yeah, to acknowledge, right? Here I am, here you are, we're in our presence, we're with each other. Hmm. Didn't even have to really think about it, right?
Mm.
But there was a urge, there was there was a choice to do that.
There was a calling to do it and then the choice, hey, Jace?
Yeah, good. I think so.
Normally I have our meeting with her, but I have to charge the phone, so I'm in the bedroom. So I heard her and I thought maybe she wants some attention.
I do that with my wife. Oh, she's stirring. She's getting up. It's time for coffee. See if I can get a little TLC.
Mm.
Yeah, if you don't try, you won't know.
Exactly, Hans.
Amen. Yeah, the automatic is a no, yes.
Well, where your attention goes, your energy flows.
That's right.
Yes.
And if there's a try, there's a yes. Good morning, Mona.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Mona.
everyone. How is everybody doing today?
Intimate.
How are you, Mona?
I'm good. I got some rest last night.
Good.
I sat down and took care of a project I was taking care of.
Great.
I sent the letter. I didn't go into a bunch of detail about family history with it, but I went into some and did some comparisons about my grandma's life and my mom's life and my life. And I know that there are certain things that are going on with her, and I address them in a back doorway. Because I don't want her to feel like I'm judging her.
Exactly.
Because I'm
You're
not.
allowing her to get a different perspective.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because when we had trouble, we all often think, I'm totally alone about this. No one else have ever felt this way.
Could I wrap that word, like that's feeling around the word resentments? How does that word ring?
Yeah,
Is
it
it-
rings. My daughter resents me. But I resented my mom too because she was doing one thing and telling me to do another. And kids learn what they live. They don't,
Mm.
they follow examples.
Mhm. If you, oh, I love that. Just the views, right? So the different view, you changed your view to see it from the other way, the other side.
Mm.
Oh.
Mm.
And so resentment was always part of the pattern then.
Yeah. And I can think of things that my daughter did that I resented too.
Mhm. And this, I heard this phrase, it sticks with me, is that expectations are premeditated resentments.
Wow.
I think that's true.
I think so too. It's like, oh, but it's, I think it's one of those, we expect expectations to be a good, like a positive charge. And so we put them out there and we give them energy and we're in it, but then it's like where they turn into an unresolvable one,
Yeah.
right? It's an
Yeah.
oscillation. It's an automatic oscillation. Well, what would you say had you sleep so well?
What would I say? What?
Had you sleep so well?
I pretty much just said what was on my heart.
Mm.
And I shed some tears during that, but I continued to use I language. I didn't share any resentments with her. I did tell her I was very sad that we were where we are at in our relationship.
Like a letting go.
Did it with love towards her.
Yeah. The first thing I told her was that I loved her and I hope that this letter finds her well.
Mm.
And I sent it to her by email. But I also
And
know too that after a certain point, a parent, even though they set their kid up for something, the kid still has a choice whether to follow the pattern or not follow the pattern.
you know,
Yes. That's the gift of becoming an adult.
that's where timing, I was thinking, and timing. So the timing to become an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she's not an adult yet. She's still in her teenage brain.
Yeah, adolescent. And most, even if we were considered an adult, most of us are still in our adolescent conditioning.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with that.
There's a
I'm
term that
still in it.
Yeah, I have my moments. I think we all do.
I think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a term that gets used in inner child work. I'm sure you know it, Mona. It's called the adapted child. And it's just a useful term. But I often, when I work then I'll often ask people, where are you coming from? You coming from the adapted child or your true self?
She
It's
was an
often
adaptive
true.
child all her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my son was my challenge. She wasn't as much of my challenge. And I didn't give her the attention that she needed. I got wound up in my own world, which is what my mom did. She got wound up in her own world, looking for somebody to help her fulfill her needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As family patterns, eh? We should do show a lot of loyalty to them.
It's the only one we know.
One of the things that came up with the kids' father was that the kids don't want to go visit her, and the oldest one is 8.
Oh.
And I said, well, if they don't want to go, don't make them, because they know they're smart.
Yeah.
If they don't feel comfortable, don't make them go.
I would agree with that.
So Mona, I celebrate you moving through that difficulty.
Yeah. I do too. I honor it. That's big energy to work with.
You're working with yourself to be a good example instead of telling her what to do.
Yeah.
An example of how to let it go.
How to break the
Stop
pattern.
stop running away from it, Heinz, and break that pattern. Step through it to see what's on the other side.
Mhm.
And what I also celebrate, Mona, is that you've come to a point where you can value yourself enough to be able to look back and see things that you don't really particularly like about the choices that you made. But you can have compassion for them.
Yeah, I can understand why she's doing what she's doing.
Yeah, and you can understand, for me, it's also that you can understand why you did what you did.
Yeah.
And that's
was
the
the
example. Sorry,
The
Mona.
amazing thing that really got me understanding things was the story that my grandma wrote. I don't know. She only had an 8th grade education, so it was very poignant. And she didn't get very far through her childhood with it, but she got far enough, and she was in the perfect years of formation that created who she was in the beginning. And it was, she could sense things and feel things that I don't even remember sensing or feeling at that age. And it was incredible that she spoke about it. She spoke about when her brother was born, how he was more important than her. And all the attention got diverted to him with the father and the mother. And she was basically mistreated because her mom had a lot of anger issues. And my mom married somebody that had anger issues. And I think when they got married, she still had some too. Because I remember when I was a kid, I guess they were fighting one day, and I remember telling myself, I'll never get married.
Mhm.
And I did.
It's, I mean, those resentments, the list of things that we've done to ourselves, to others. It's like that inventory,
Mm.
that inventory of the skeletons in the closet.
Mm.
The inventory, those skeletons that are in the closet that feed our patterns, that enable, that trigger. And I think part of that is what I'll connect into the intimacy of ourselves. It's like to see into the depths of who we are, who we've been, and who we want to be. That is not easy. It's easier when we can hold what the intention is at the end. And so I assume that you have an intention, Mona. And to me, what I make up, it sounds like your intention is to have a relationship with your daughter. And maybe just a better one than the relationship you have today. Specifically, it's yours. It doesn't have to be mine.
It took me a long time to have a better relationship with my dad, so I think it can happen at any age.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'll say this. Of course, it matters whether whether you guys can meet at a different level from this. That is absolutely important. However, for me, the fact that you could do what you've done is by doing that, you've altered the resonance between the two of you.
Yep.
And that is huge because that is forever.
Yeah, you laid the first brick for a common ground to stand on.
Yeah, because without that, nothing in terms of this could have, would be able to take place. So this is a really big deal, Mona, in my book.
Mhm.
It is a big deal, and I think you're right. She may not respond to the letter, and she may.
Yeah.
She may be angry when she gets it and doesn't want nothing to do with it. And I'm okay with that because that's in letting go. It's her stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anger is normally when you hit a nerve. You don't get angry if you don't hit anything that's actually in your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, now is the timing. It's amazing that when we can get to the moment that we're fine, that we're okay. Yes, there's a desire for it to go a certain way, but in reality, it's like we're fine with however it goes from this point forward.
Yeah. That's a huge, big growth point.
It is. It seems to be a big attractor to what we do want. And from those places is where, quote, miracles happen.
Yes, I would agree, Tess. Yeah.
As long as we're not looking and expecting them, because then they're not miracles.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, because then we're only looking for what we expect, and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Our net isn't thrown wide enough, right?
If we do that, we're not allowing possibilities.
Exactly, Mona.
Yes.
Folks, I'm fixing to be out of signal, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off.
Well, I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you joined us. Thanks for sharing
I've
your
been listening.
win.
Yeah.
I listen quite often.
I know.
Yeah,
thank
good to
you.
have you here, Mona.
Thank you. It's good
Love
to
it
hear
up.
all of you.
Bye.
You have a
Love you, Mona.
love you too, guys. I will talk
Bye.
to you later.
Soon. Yes, thank you. Hmm. An example of grounding, right? Putting the heart out in front and saying, all right, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do? What do I need? What will give me peace? What will give me joy? What will bring it into my life? What do I need to do? Well, anything before we close?
I think I'm good. Thank you for the whistle from your bird, Heinz. It was so clear. It was good to hear.
You all have a pleasant day.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, love and
You
hugs,
too.
everybody.
Love and hugs.
Thanks.
Thank
Phil.
you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.